we're in such a different headspace than we've ever been before in terms of all these amazing things are happening for us. So just let them happen. There's no what's the single gonna do? Are we gonna have it go like is the radio even gonna play it? Not to say that I think saying we don't care is not the right way to say it because it's not like apathy. It's more just like acceptance of whatever will be, and we're just lucky to be here still making music. So the pressure was more in the very early days of just making an album. The concept of if we're gonna make a full length album this time, it has to matter. This record has to be something that is not just call it a business card to go out and tour with. You know, you kind of have to make music to have something to tour on. But for us, for so many years, it really felt like, and it started to feel like this more towards the end of our career when we thought we were no longer going to be a band, that our new music was sort of just washing out to sea. And you know, we would pour all this time and energy into making these full length albums and really felt like while our core fan base that has been with us all the way were passionately invested in the music we were making, it wasn't reaching, it wasn't spreading, it wasn't growing anymore. And so if we're going to make a full length album, it has to do those things. We have to grow as a band. Otherwise, what are we doing here? You know, and also the fact that we've been playing the biggest shows we've ever played in our career for 3 years straight now, 3 summers in a row. We're playing for just thousands and thousands of people. We have to sustain that with new music because you can't ride this nostalgia wave on the, you know, it's not the 20th anniversary of Ocean Avenue anymore. That we have to accept that fact. You know, acceptance. That's what we have to do. And so this record has to matter. That's the thing. And so that's where the pressure really came from. And we were so lucky to find Travis Barker because it was totally just the rock gods leading us that way. It was totally organic, and the way that came to happen was just through a good friend of ours that mentioned to him that he was working with us in terms of song. We were going to write some songs with our friend Nick Long. We've never worked with any co-writers before on an album, so that was a big step for us. It was kind of something I brought to the band in the early days of this conversation to say, I'm 45 years old. I make EDM and soundtracks. Like going into a full length album as a pop punk songwriter, I think I might be open to having some help for the first time. But if we're going to do that, we all want it to be with our friends, with people we know, people we trust, people who are band first, you know, not just LA top line writers. That was not what we were looking for. So Nick worked on a lot of songs with Blink on One More Time. He's worked with MGK and Avril and lots of different projects with Travis. So when we talked to Nick about working together, originally it was, let's just get some acoustic guitars out and jam and see if we write anything cool. He called back and said, I mentioned to Travis we were going to do a couple days together. And he said, bring him to the studio. I want to work on those sessions. And we're just like, what? What do you mean? You know, what are you talking about?
Wait,
what? And I mean, most of our comeback has been reactions like that to every single thing that's happened so far. But we got in the studio with Travis, and this is all kind of a long-winded answer to the pressure question. He just had a way of diffusing, clearing the room of that sense of pressure, sense of tension, of uncertainty. You know, is this going to work? You just get in there and jam. And it's been a long time since we've made a record like in that way, where we sit down and write a whole song. We don't demo it. We don't live with it. We don't overthink it. We just sit in there, whatever the energy is that day, whatever the vibe is, that steers the direction of the music we're making. And we had not ever made a record with, you know, other people in the room like Nick. We also worked with a good friend of ours named Andrew Goldstein, who's just an insanely talented songwriter. So there was this sense of pressure at the beginning, like, oh, what's this going to be like? How does this work? And it was immediately gone because we realized like, oh, this is how we used to write when we were 20 years old. This is how we wrote music. We would sit around in an apartment and we would leave that night at 2:00 in the morning and we'd have a whole song done. And that's basically the song that ended up on Ocean Avenue, you know, on the album. It was, most of those songs were written in a room in a day. And so after we got in the groove, it was like, well, if it's not the best song in the world, it doesn't end up on the album. Who cares? We'll write another one tomorrow. And so that mentality was just awesome. It was just awesome because we were so relaxed and we just enjoyed it so much, man. And it's been a long time since we've made a record in that way. And I think you can hear it. I think it sounds like the most core, you know, source material that Yellowcard is to people. And we just found it again, you know, with a little help from our friends, and it's rad. Well, I wish we could take credit for that, but that's all Travis. When we were
Travis is the best collaboration.
Both, yeah. I mean, there is a collaboration on literally every song on the album, and that's Travis Barker playing drums for Yellowcard, which is unreal.
Thanks, Travis.
Wait, what? It's one of those. But when we were, both of those songs, the guest vocals came from us living with the songs and saying, man, this sounds like a early 2000s Avril Lavigne, like monster ballad. Travis says, well, do you think she should sing on it? You know, and then sends a text to me that says Merry Christmas. And it's like a board bounce of the song with Avril singing on it, you know, and I sent it to everyone, and you
just don't think that concept or that moment would come to life, and you look at each other in disbelief.
The Matt Skiba one was more intense for me because I think in the band, Sean and I would be the Alkaline Trio fans.
Oh yeah.
But that was the same, that song, Love Letters Lost, I was a demo that I actually wrote at home when we were kind of on a break from being out in California working on the album. And that's a cool kind of sidebar to this whole conversation. I went into the record feeling really kind of unsure of myself and not knowing how to really reconnect with the version of Yellowcard that we wanted to present on this record. And I came out of it writing whole songs at home and demoing them and having all the lyrics and melody and everything. It was just coming out of me, you know? So I had demoed Love Letters Lost. Travis sent me a text message and said, hey, I've had this bouncing around in my head. I don't know if it's an album title or another song to work on, but he just said Love Letters Lost. That's it. And I took it, ran with it, wrote a song. When we finished the song, I don't know if it was you or I, but the concept of this sounds like an Alkaline Trio song in the best way. And, you know, then we're back home again in December, January or whatever. I'm just sitting at home, probably gaming, and my phone rings, FaceTime, it's Travis. I answer, and he's sitting with Skiba. And Skiba's like, hey, dude, you know, we know Matt and have played with Alkaline Trio, you know, throughout the years. And we know them better than we know Blink for sure. So I hadn't seen Matt in a long time, but he you know, was like, hey, dude, I just want to say, man, I want this song for my band. And I was just, you know, floored to hear that from him. And man, he was just so gracious and so kind, and what he was, you know, in the way he was talking about the song and how excited he was to be a part of it. And so literally hung up the phone and went in the vocal booth and tracked his vocals. And Travis sent it to me that night, late at night. He was like, all right, we're done. Here it is. And for the two of us, I mean, that is just a really unbelievable, it was a really unbelievable thing to process, listening to our music with Matt Skiba singing and Travis Barker playing drums. And it's just a lot to get your head around.
Big full circle, dreams do come true kind of a thing.